I'm excited to be here with Dale Koch here at Farm Progress. Dale, tell us what you do for a living. What's your job?
Yeah. So I'm an engineer by training.
Okay.
So I lead a team of research engineers, chemists, agronomists at the precision planting branch of AGCO.
And what you're doing is helping them test our soil. When I think of farmers, I don't think of them as soil technicians, but would a farmer want to test their soil?
Yeah. So understanding what is in the soil is a critical part of the overall nutrient management process. So if you look at it, for an average farmer in the Midwest, they might spend 20 or 30% of their crop budget on fertilizer every year. And in most cases, that is the biggest farm expense that they're going to have over the course of a year. So knowing exactly what is in the soil and what they need to add to the soil from a fertilizer standpoint is a critical part of it.
And precision planting helps farmers get more from the equipment that they already have. How do you do that with regards to what you do?
Yeah. So Radicle Agronomics is about making nutrient management more understandable and precise. And so in spite of the fertilizer bill being 20 or 30% of the total inputs they're going to have, it is the least understood of all the inputs. And so in other words, for every dollar that they put out, it is not obvious where that dollar is going as far as returning yield back to their pocketbook. And so our mission is to try to put clarity for farmers into that dollar that's expended for fertilizer every year. And so, yeah, that's a big part of it.
Soil testing in itself hasn't changed much over the last couple of decades. What motivated you guys to rethink the entire process?
Yeah. So we're a farmer-first company. And as we look at developing a new solution, the big question in our mind is, what is it going to take for this solution to pay back on a farm? And as we looked at all the inputs, going back to this question, it's like farmers don't understand. How can they deploy those dollars effectively? In years like this, those dollars are scarce, right? How can they deploy those dollars effectively to raise the best crop? And so that's part of how we think about it. But in general, as we think about the soil testing process, one of the biggest issues in the soil testing process is that in spite of those results being used to manage that big input, the testing process is antiquated. And so whether that's the lab approach for testing, whether that's how the soil is collected in the field, whether that's how those results are interpreted, it's decades old in many cases. And so as we started pulling back the layers of this process, this is relatively new space for us. We're planter people traditionally, getting into sprayers and now into the soil fertility world. But as we started pulling back the layers, we realized that there's a lot of places where there's error along the way as you set up to analyze the soil, as you analyze it, as you interpret those results. We said, there's an opportunity here for the American farmer to get better.
And I had a chance to head over to the PTX booth and saw the Radicle lab in action. And with that, talk about that, because I think traditionally farmers would have to get the soil sample, put it in the mail, ship it 100, 500 miles away. But you guys are bringing it to them, putting it on location, essentially. Talk about that.
Yeah. So right, there's commercial soil labs that have technicians, equipment, have lots of floor space, but they are relatively centralized. So in the U.S., you might have 60 to 100 of these labs of any significance of size. But the problem with that whole testing process is that it is highly dependent on manual labor. And as you have manual labor there, you introduce errors into the process. So what we've done is we have developed the world's first fully automated soil lab. And so what it is, about the size of 2 vending machines. And so a big farmer, an agronomist, someone who sells fertilizer, any one of those people could have this lab in their shed, could take the soil samples, load it onto the machine, press the go button, go home for the night, and minutes later, results start rolling out of this machine. And results that are more accurate than what they're used to today. And that's because of removing those 20 different steps that happen in a lab today and automating them with robotic processes.
And I would imagine the old way of doing it, they may send a sample in and they realize, oh, I forgot to get this part of the farm or whatever. And so this allows for quicker turnaround time and more immediate processing of samples, which they might need.
Absolutely, yeah. It's right there in your shed. So you miss that one spot that's in the back 80, and go grab that soil sample, run it, and 18 minutes later you got a result.
Tell us about the GeoPress. What is that?
Yeah. So GeoPress it's your partner in the field. And so GeoPress is a device that goes on the back of a UTV, on the back of a four-wheeler, that allows you to do all the record keeping automatically. It's actually, it's a fairly intensive activity. You're not only manually taking a probe and pushing it into the ground, but you also, in the heat of the moment, have to keep track of a lot of details, where that sample was taken, the ID of that sample. And so what the GeoPress does is it takes care of all that for you. And so it will geotag the location. It'll store that on an NFC tag that's on a purpose-built soil container, such that when that sample rolls through the lab, that information will be automatically associated back to the zone in the field where that was captured.
Radicle helps support climate-smart solutions and greater sustainability on the farm. How are you helping farmers with those practices?
Yeah, so really let's maybe think about carbon sequestration. At the end of the day, the way you get carbon in the soil is by roots. And in order to get a lot of roots and big roots in the soil, you need a balanced fertility program. And so part of our mission is to help farmers optimize, help farmers balance their fertility program such that they can get as many roots in the soil as possible and sequester carbon in the process.
So really interesting, high tech. I think it's really cool. But at the end of the day, you're talking to farmers who aren't technicians, they're not scientists. How do you keep the farmer at the center of the conversation, even with this amazing technology?
Great question. So at the end of the day, the way we think about development is how fast can something pay off the farmers? And so all of our solutions, our goal is to have the technology paid off in the first year that a farmer is using it. And so whether that is our aftermarket planter equipment, our aftermarket sprayer equipment, it comes back to the return on investment, not just for the fertilizer, but also the technology that we're selling to the farmer. And so really, farmer first starts all the way back in the R&D process when you're choosing what problem to start on. And so how can farmers participate today? The GeoPress is available. If farmers who historically have struggled with all the nuts and the bolts of the process, it streamline that process. Again, the GeoPress is the partner in the field for the farmer if they want to participate. Go to radicle.ag to find a Radicle lab near you, and we'd love to have you as part of the team.
All right. Well, Dale Koch, thank you so much for spending time with me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you so much.